Hello guys, welcome back, and today we are doing a bit of a VR retrospective. We're going to have a look at where we've been with VR over the last year or two, and where it is now, and where we hope it will go in the future.
Because we do like VR.
We do generally like VR, yes.
And I think one of the things that has really struck me over the last year of actually using some VR is how accessible it's become.
Unless you're playing a Ubisoft game and have to use Uplay.
Shh! You had to get that in there somewhere, didn't you?
Yes!
But no, accessible, because you now have a number of different systems out there for the consumer to pick up and play with a range of price points that you can get involved in. So right at the base level with your mobile phone, your Samsung, you can have a Samsung Gear VR.
Or even Google Cardboard.
Well, yeah, it's even cheaper. But certainly with the Samsung, you've got an actual unit that I think is a nice, comfortable fit.
Yeah, that was the first time either of us sort of experienced VR was on the Samsung Gear I bought.
Yep, and it blew me away. It was instant, like, oh my god, I've got to get my hands on this.
Oh my god, there's so many free videos I can download for this. And then I was never seen for about 6 months.
But no, we've actually have had a couple of games that we've done as Let's Plays. Keep Talking Nobody Explodes.
Affected, I did an Affected Let's
Yep.
Play with like cables coming out of my face all over the shop because I had to jury rig that to hell to get it to record.
So recording does take a bit of taxing effort on a mobile phone, but it's still an accessible point, and I think that was a really welcome thing to sort of say to people, here's VR, this is what it can do, and blow people's minds.
Yeah, it was quite passive initially because there was less interaction and then they sort of grew to be. So you had a lot of games where it was very much controller or even remote based, where it was just selecting things and looking around and sort of pointing at things with your eyeballs.
Yeah, it wasn't as intense. And then we started to see the big boys get involved with the formal releases, consumer editions of the HTC Vive, which was more of a room scale VR with controllers, and also the Oculus Rift CV1,
Yep,
which is what we both have,
it is.
with a delayed release of, but the motion controllers as well, the Oculus Touch.
Yeah, I think when the touch sort of entered it in, it sort of gave VR the reason to be.
Yeah, absolutely. When you first get your headset and you're like, oh, this is nice. You know, oh, look at this, and this is interesting.
The problem I had with it initially is it didn't feel much improved from the Gear for me.
I thought the same.
So when I first got it, I went, oh, okay, I've just spent £400 or £500 on this, and it's doing what my £60 accessory did. Oh dear.
Yes, it was very worrying. I suppose the hype that you build up yourself is kind of a big thing when you're buying such a big purchase.
Yeah.
And then you end up with something that's not going to change your life, but it starts to make you think what VR could do. But certainly when you get into having the touch controllers, or anytime you have your sudden hands in view, that is an extra 15 levels of immersion. You
Yeah.
can now interact with the world where you want to be in physical space.
Yeah, and it's probably a bad sign when you have your hands out of you.
But with the Oculus Touch and the HTC Vive, which I haven't tried myself,
No.
but there's so many opportunities and so many games. And the most recent game that we've both experienced as probably the best VR game that we've tried yet
I think that's fair.
is Star Trek The Bridge Crew, or Star Trek Bridge Crew,
Star Trek Bridge Crew.
which is, 4 of you get together and pilot and captain and man, that's the word I was looking for, thank you. Man.
Crew.
Yeah.
It's in the name of the thing, we're stupid.
Are they on that place where all the people work? Oh, Bridge, that's it. But yes, you're a 4-man team with this console in front of you, and you have your bits and pieces to do, and you're pushing buttons and you're sliding things around, and you're communicating, and it's such a nice experience. I had a lot of fun, and
I had less fun because I couldn't fucking connect to my hands.
yeah, but that's not a VR problem, Lee.
It's not a VR problem, no, it's a Uplay problem. Yeah.
Shh, calm down.
But I've played it single player with like the bots, and it works fine, and it's really fun.
So at the time of launch, when we actually had the Oculus ourselves, obviously VR was a very new thing, and our packs, our actual headsets, etc., came with an Xbox One controller,
Wireless dongle.
with the sensor and headset, and Lucky's Tale as a game,
Yes.
which is awesome. It's a little platformer, but because you're kind of looking down at this platformer as it moves around, you can look around the back of things, and you're actually immersed in the game by being there.
If you get right down and have a look at Lucky, he's like, ah.
It's kind of cute, yeah. It's kind of cool. Which, I mean, let's just run through the games that we have experienced, because that's kind of a good indication of our breadth of experience.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when it first came out, there was a lot of tech demos on it, like Showdown, that looked impressive, but you were just like looking around as you went through
galleries.
Yeah. But I found that most of the good stuff that came out at the time were games that have previously been released and then have been rejigged for VR. I know that can be a problem, but certainly in something like Elite Dangerous, it works fantastically well. I mean, you can turn around and look under the seat and everything, and it's all there, and wow.
We've done a lot of, I've certainly done quite a few VR videos, Let's Play stuff. Some of the best games that I think came out around the start, Eve Valkyrie, which is a sort of sit-down cockpit space shooter.
Which would be better if it wasn't multiplayer.
But certainly a fantastic experience when you first sit in that cockpit and you're like, I've spent some serious money on this game, it better be good.
Yeah,
and the wow factor of...
Oh, I have a story about that.
And the wow factor of just getting shot out the side of a ship, BSG style. It was just great. And then getting involved in a little dogfight around asteroids and broken up ships and stuff. Brilliant. Because I think personally, VR works when you are sat down. If you're sitting down using VR, if as much of the game is like you are in real life, the better. As soon as you're having to start walking places or turning around corners and stuff when you're not actually moving your head, instant motion sickness of probably about 60% of the people using it. So in a cockpit, flying controls, that is for you exactly fine in space, because you wouldn't feel the sort of G-forces, etc. As such. So it doesn't give you that kind of weird feeling.
Yeah.
Great.
My Valkyrie experience. I bought Valkyrie fairly soon after I actually bought the Oculus. I spent like £400 or £500 on the Oculus, and Valkyrie was on the store, and it was like the most expensive thing on the store by a shot.
I think it was like 45 quid.
Yeah, it was like 45 quid. So I bought it. I was like, whatever. So it's something to play on this thing. And then a couple of days later, I got an email from Amazon apologising for sending me my voucher late, but here's my code for a free copy of Valkyrie.
Hey!
Gee, thanks, guys.
I didn't know that. That's brilliant.
Yes. £45 down the drain after all you spend like £500.
This is Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
Excellent. Some other games. Adrift. Well done, Let's Play on that. Fully immersive, stuck inside a astronaut kind of suit with your helmet on, and you're kind of boostering your way around a blown up space station. Fucking gorgeous game. Spent probably about 10 hours just floating around space, doing the game to the end. Oh, mate, loved it.
Yeah, my friend Bungle got extreme motion sickness from that game.
But it does have a way to kind of reduce that.
Well, he is also barely human. So.
What else have we played?
American and Euro Truck Simulator.
I haven't played that myself, but I can imagine. Yeah.
It's an awesome game anyway, but you sort of integrate the Oculus where you can look out your window and down the side of your truck and look around at the traffic lights rather than use a right stick. Fantastic. It's very zen, it's just a relaxing game, just take lorry places. There's
also a interactive multiplayer poker game. You get to sit down and chat with people from all around the world, but you're sat in a virtual kind of avatar at a table playing poker, actual poker, with cards, as you would. But you're sat in a kind of cabaret, music going on in the background. You're sat at the table, the croupier is always the same chick. This big hair, big boobs. But it's a lot of fun. I've probably spent most of my time playing poker in VR, which is unusual.
I'm surprised with the boobs.
And not because of the boobs, but you get to interact with people, have a chat here and there. I've heard some funny conversations. Some people you can mute them as you would expect, but it's great, really good fun, really simple, and it's free, so you can't complain.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But yeah, Bridge Crew, easily my favourite game so far.
Yeah. Also, when you bought the touch controller, you probably got the best shooting game,
Dead and Buried.
Robo Recall.
Oh.
It's not that good as a shooting gallery, son.
Yes, I thought that's what you meant,
No.
because that's what you got when it was opened. Robo Recall was later.
Robo Recall. No, with the touch, it was free as well.
I know it was, but it wasn't out when I got my touch,
Oh, okay.
because I got it on release.
I was touched later.
Yeah, you were touched later, like a schmuck you are. There's a demo called Bullet Train.
Yes, that's it.
Which has a kind of a great mechanic of like picking up guns and having to like
It's almost John
cock a
Wick-esque,
shotgun and stuff.
isn't it?
Hmm?
It's almost John Wick-esque.
Yes, it
In
is.
fact,
It's just
you're
like
just going through so many.
just fucking
Yeah.
everything. It's great. But the Robo Recall was the game that came out of that. Really nice mechanics to get your different weapons. You get like shotguns you pick up from behind your head. You've got guns down by your sides. It's really, really well done.
Yeah, it's staggering as well that they didn't sell it separately.
Mm.
I mean, they could have just put Dead and Buried in there as your shooting game and sold that for 50 quid. I mean, now the touch has come down in price, which is when I bought it. I'm like this schmuck. Like 50 quid's like half the cost of the touch.
Mm. Mm. No, very, very impressed with the touch when it came out. Suddenly, the actual feeling of your hands in that VR space is just, it means so much for that immersion.
I love the feeling of my hands inside anything.
One thing that I wanted to mention about VR, as I see it at the moment, is too many companies. They're trying to take a game and just make it VR. Just here's one of our greatest selling titles, to make it VR. Like recently, we've heard about the Skyrim VR option, or how many more times are they going to sell Skyrim to us? But they're going to have a VR Skyrim. I don't want a VR Skyrim. Give me a VR game in the vein of Skyrim, but just give me something that you've made with VR in mind, not just, oh yeah, it's kind of first person, do it VR.
Yeah, it's kind of like equatable to the movies that are shot for 3D.
And it's not actually 3D. Yeah, it's just irritating. No one's really found like the killer use of VR, because it's still in its like febrile stages. It's really embryonic right now, and I think some games are hitting little sparks of ingenuity with how they use VR, but it's not the way to go. I mean, one of the thoughts I thought VR could work really well is
porn.
No, work really well with.
No, porn, it would work great.
No, you can talk about porn in a sec.
Virtual reality porn.
But it's certainly, if you had like a festival and have a situation where you can pay to access a 360 camera at the front of the stage, so you wouldn't have to necessarily go to the festival, but you could enjoy the ambience that you'd have at a festival, apart from bottles of piss being thrown at you. You know, it would be an amazing thing, and you could pay a reduced price, but the festival people would actually end up making an absolute packet.
I feel like I'd be missing out with the bottles of piss.
Really, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. But you get to experience the festival without actually having to travel. So those people that aren't able to travel or can't make it for any reason, they could just jump in and jump out.
Or just flat out can't get tickets.
You know, that kind of thing I can see VR being useful for. But the other thing it's probably useful for, go on.
Porn.
Virtual reality porn.
Have the floor.
I want to touch the boobies.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Are you done?
That's it.
Make sure you wipe up
Well,
afterwards.
it's like you've said in previous videos, it's like the adult industry has always been there first. Whenever a new technology has come along,
Actually, yeah, it's true.
it's always been utilised it first. I mean, the first 3D movie ever filmed and displayed for a cinema was The Stewardesses or something, which was basically softcore. From like the 50s or something.
Thing is, an industry like that knows what it wants, and they'll make it happen.
Yeah, they want money, and they know that people pay money for boobs.
There's sex sells, and obviously
Or that. Yeah.
it kind of makes money as well. But yes, I mean there's an absolute shit ton of porn.
Videos.
Well, I was just trying to say resources
Okay, videos.
to make it sound a bit more just like just some porn videos. No, there are lots of resources out there specifically made and designed for all of the platforms. It's like they're being ultra professional with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you quite often see people go from that field on to mainstream. So
Don't go down that road.
It's an art form.
Shut up! I'm reading for the articles. No, it's a fact of life in VR. It's going to be there. It'll be stupid to ignore it. It's an aspect of VR that's probably working the best out of the lot.
Well, works for me.
The thing is, the 360 video, or the kind of immersive video, if you want to call it that, there's a lot of potential there, but because most of the people using VR don't have the high-end sets, the Oculus Rift and the Vive, it's never going to be a commercial thing to do it, to make a film in that respect. I can't see that happening yet.
No, they do indeed do that. They are able to do smaller sized video files for the less intensive.
No, I mean, I'm not talking porn anymore.
Have we stopped already?
You said that was it.
Okay.
No, I'm talking. There is some weird. I think it's some weird game that Elijah Wood is doing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's like a film game thing. But I don't know how much VR is involved in it. But that looks kind of interesting and a bit creepy and weird, and you expect it from him. And
there's a game they're doing with Buzz Aldrin as a hologram.
Yeah.
Which is a new thing, but he just sort of pops up in the middle of stuff and you watch him. And it's...
But if you are thinking about getting hold of some VR, you won't get a terrible experience by just getting a Samsung Gear or Google Cardboard. It's just if you want to get to that next level, wearing a headset and the touch controllers, it is a quantum leap.
It is, yeah.
The difference between the two. So it's definitely worth considering, at least. Yeah,
it was a case of I bought the Oculus and I was like, well, what am I going to do on it? Okay, watching like these videos are exactly the same as the Gear experience that I'm used to. Most of these games are exactly the same experience. And then I sort of got into Elite Dangerous and Euro Truck Simulator and all that, and I was like, okay, I'm happy with this for this. This is fine. And then the touch came along. I'm like, oh, I see. That's what you meant. I get it now.
Yeah.
So it was like you got to play like Job Simulator and stuff like that, where even though you were moving around, you were only moving in a small space, so it wasn't like motion sickness or anything. But yeah, it was like I finally got it. It sort of clicked. It's not just a camera. It's now I'm actually interacting with things.
Yeah. It's just that extra dimension. Now let's not forget the PlayStation VR. Haven't mentioned that yet.
No.
But that's almost in between price-wise between the Gear VR and the high-end sets.
And it is sort of in between performance-wise as well.
It's definitely not shit. It's actually fairly good for the price point. I think it's about £300-400.
Yeah, but I think you actually have to...
No, £300-400?
It's somewhere around there, but I think you have to buy like a lot of stuff separately. Like you need the PlayStation Eye and the One controllers and stuff like that. So I don't know if they're bundling it together now, but certainly when it first came out, it didn't have that.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, you will get a decent experience. And for games like the Star Trek Bridge Crew that we both love, it's a cross-play game title. So people using the PSVR can play with the people that, like me, that are using the Oculus Rift. Brilliant. That's what you need. VR needs to unite, which is one of the other things I think that needs to happen in the future.
What is troubling about that is that does suggest that PS4 will have to use Uplay as well.
I don't know how it works for them. But yeah, certainly it's an interesting collection of games so far. And there's been a lot of shit, as you'd expect. A lot of shit.
I mean, since the touch controller's come out, there's so many shooting games out there where you're just using it to shoot things. It's ridiculous, and a lot of them aren't great.
I mean, there's some games like Thumper on Steam, which is a kind of a semi-rhythm based, reaction based trail shooter kind of thing. But you can use that in VR.
Weren't you worried about that killing you if you tried it in VR?
I've tried it in VR. Did not kill me.
Okay.
Would recommend. No, it's quite nice because it just immerses you in the view of the game. It doesn't do anything else. So instead of seeing it on a flat screen, it's now the flat screen is kind of through your head, so you can see the game and you can look around and see the stuff. But it doesn't do anything crazy, and that's okay. Like I'd already bought Thumper, and I could suddenly use it in VR. That's fine. Don't sell me another VR game that's doing that. That's cheap. Give me a VR game that's brand new or original. That's fine. Don't just try and skank me.
I did have a WTF moment on a game called Technolust, which is nowhere near as mucky as it sounds. I was very disappointed.
Instant refund.
But you get to like this sort of future game with like techno hacking and stuff. But I got to this docking port with 3 people in it, and one was a woman. So me being me, I investigated her chest region quite closely, and I was like, "What's that?" So I literally put my ear up against her chest, and I could hear her heart beating, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's incredible."
Yeah, when someone does a little detail like that, it just sends shivers up your spine, doesn't it?
I even checked the men out as well. They didn't have that, so obviously they knew. Like
They knew you.
they
This
knew
is
you
just
were,
for Lee.
you were going to just put your face in those moves.
But it's just it's an incredible piece of kit, and I think for people of our age who remember virtual reality in the arcades in the kind of early 90s.
And the Virtual Boy.
Oh God, no.
No one remembers a Virtual Boy,
But
please.
I always wanted to play on a virtual reality system back in the early 90s, but the nearest one to me was like in London.
Yeah, I always wanted to since the Lawnmower Man when he was shagging his bird in it.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Mm.
But at the same time, those if you look it up. I might even
Shagged
try
his
and find a
mind
picture.
right out. He did right out.
I might try and find a picture of one of the old scale systems, which, considering these days we have a headset and just a wire that goes into your PC, in the old days you were talking like a complete fucking unit that would take up a living room.
Yeah, it was like.
And the headset was like that big, and it's just ridiculous. But you know, times are a changing.
And you also had it on PCs back in those days as well, but they didn't work and were a waste of money, and basically tried to fool your eyes by making you blind.
Yeah. So VR has got a promising future if it goes the right way. And I think looking back over the last 9 to 12 months of using VR and waiting to get involved in it, oh my God, it's had a good reception, I think, on the whole. I think it's found some games that work, and people are obviously still trying to produce new content for it, and old content.
Yeah, it's a case of when people work out the best way of utilising it, we're going to see better games, and I think that's starting to happen now. Whereas I think before it was very much like you say, just throwing everything at VR and seeing what's stuck.
Yeah, it needs more experimentation. I think we're at that stage now where people are trying things, much like back in the early 80s, where people were trying new things with games. Some things stuck, some things didn't. Things evolved. I hope it goes the same way. I'm more than happy to be along for the ride. I think the next step really to stop people getting the motion sickness is things that are already out on the market. Those kind of omnipods that you can walk on, and you can actually move your character in game.
Mm-hmm.
It's got kind of like a connection on the waist, and you can do that. There's other things I've seen which are they kind of suspend you, and you can put your feet in and sort of run in midair.
Oh, like in Pacific Rim.
Yeah, very much like that. So there are systems, that could be coming soon, and they don't have to take a massive amount of space. I mean, we're already using in some aspects with certainly the Vive, the room scale VR, but I don't think a lot of people have that much room. So having a pod that you can kind of just use VR in, that would be more appealing.
Like a little sort of shower booth in the corner or something.
Yeah, it'll be a bit futuristic, but I think it could be something that works. And that would be the next part, I think, to make the fully immersion feeling of immersion in a game. I think with every step we get closer to the Matrix, of the more fidelity we get in the visuals, the more immersion you get, and then to really bend your noodle, right? If you believe that real life is like a simulation, the old simulation theory of reality, that we're then producing a simulation, right? So we're going to be in a simulation. But what if in that simulation you can then make a game that's also a simulation? Mental. Don't think, Lee, it will make your head explode.
I'm trying to work out how many walls we just broke.
About 15, like well up there. 100 million.
1,400 million. I think where VR needs to go is, I think, I know this is on the way for the Vive, but the headset needs to be wireless.
Yeah.
Because I've throttled myself quite a few times.
And also, when you buy the Oculus Rift, there's not really a decent way to store the headset.
Oh, him and his fucking storage. Isn't it?
You know, I had to make a little stand to make sure the lenses didn't get dirty.
I just put it down. It's fine.
No, I've got a lot of dust in my room where I use it, so
You've got a lot of dust in your room.
I just think it would have been nice to have some kind of case or protective kind of cloth or something. I don't know.
Now, one thing I want to see Oculus doing, and I think you can get it from some third-party suppliers, is give us, yes, the glasses are a problem. My glasses only just fit, and I have to basically take them off and put them in sort of one way and then the other. And when Uplay is insisting I come out and put in my admin password 5 times in a row, that means I have to take them off, take the glasses out, put the glasses on, put in the password, take the glasses off, put them back in, put that back on, and then it's asked me again. So this is why I fucking hate Uplay. And give me like padding for the Oculus, but like with cutouts so my glasses will fit. That would be perfect. Thank you. I think third parties do them, but I like to see Oculus do them as well, because yes, you have blind people because there's lots of porn on it.
Always with the porn. I've seen a great use of VR in platformers. I've seen a great use of VR in driving games and cockpit-based games.
Or we could talk about Project Cars.
Okay, yeah, that's exception to the rule.
Yes, it actually works really nicely in VR as a game, but like we sort out in like go-karts, don't we? And if you happen to look behind you, you will notice that your go-karts don't actually have any back wheels.
Yeah, so it goes pretty well for a 2-wheeled go-kart.
Where the game just was like, oh, no one can see that, it's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one. That to me is one of those layering of VR situations, but it kind of works 60% of the time, or maybe 80% of the time.
I mean, it's fine, but like, don't look behind you.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, if you actually get into one of the Formula 3000 cars, so we're talking like high-end racing car, and you actually realise how much they can't see in the actual cockpit, because I did check my height and everything where I was sat, but like everything's up here, so you can just see like over the ridge of the car, so you can't really see too much. Anyway,
I would have been like, recenter view, that's better.
Driving around, I'm Formula 3000. Yeah, I don't think it's quite the same. But no, I think VR is something I really enjoy using now and again. I don't think it's going to replace stuff we use already, but I really want someone to just break it out and knock it out of the park and go, boom, this is how VR, this is the use of VR. Bang.
Yeah, it needs to be more accessible, because at the moment it's like you've got to set up your sensor here, your sensor there, they've got cables, they need USB ports, you've got your headset which has a cable and a USB port, me have to put my glasses in there as well, so that helps. You have to launch the Oculus thing, or Steam VR, which also has to have the Oculus thing running, so it's just like there's so many it's not complex, but there's a lot of shit you have to do before you can use it, and sometimes I'm just like, you know what, fuck it, I can't be asked. So what you really need is like wireless sensors that you could just put up like in the corner of your coving or something, wireless headset, and you're away. Then all you've got to do is just put the damn thing on.
Yeah, think about how easy it is for having a console. You switch it on, you pick up your controller. That's what VR needs to be, rather than, okay, let's get that on there, and yeah, where did I put the? Can't quite see. Where did I put my controller? Right, they got
down
controllers.
the nose hole. Look down the nose hole.
And then right, okay. Oh no, I need to update something. Okay, and take that. It's.
Oh, and then
it's almost like hobbyist rather than.
You still buy things from the Oculus store, and it's like, now take your headset off and like confirm you want to finish the installation. You're like,
why can't I
do
do
that here?
Yeah, it's no different from me going click. I'm still running the service on anyway.
Or you can run the virtual desktop program, and then you have access to the Oculus VR within the virtual desktop program, so you can do it from there.
You just done an inception.
I have.
VR.
Sounds like somewhere in Greece.
Don't know. Yeah, it does. But guys, that's our quick kind of review of our current state of affairs in 2017, June to 2017.
It is.
Ish. This is when we filmed it anyway.
The 17th, I've ruined it.
So right now it's the end of E3, so we hopefully don't have any other VR news. There wasn't too much at E3 this year.
No, it wasn't.
A couple of games announced, but nothing like full on.
Yeah, you would have really thought they would have pushed like PlayStation VR.
I don't think Sony did a good job this year, to be fair.
No, I don't think they did a very good job of marketing it, and also not having enough. So they badly marketed.
Maybe that's why they didn't market it. But guys, that's been our review of VR. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and remember that we have videos coming out every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday.
Indeed, because we've got to tell you in the last video.
No, we didn't. They don't know that.
But they'll tell when you put a text.
Close your ears.
over
They don't know that. But guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye.
He's spending 60% of his life locked in his fucking car shooting the same things over and over.
Okay, that's a good point. We'll come on to this now. So, in this game, we now have access to. I don't know if it was in the last game or not. I didn't play that one, but the risk is much higher as well.
Yeah, it's not just a PvP area either. It's an area that allows PvP, but there are AI enemies in there, and they're all hella tough. It's definitely designed for cooperative play in there.
Yeah, and I'd actually suggest